ultimately we need to learn to live consuming less energy, less materials and less resources. This is not a shift in how much more can we populate the world with renewables. It's a shift in changing our demand and our set of expectations, a change in our notion of a design for life. And it requires a willingness to embrace the possibility that living well has a new set of paradigms and forms. One of the things that we see as an organisation innovating is an urgent need to depict images of a future, diverse, multiplicitous images of a future in which living sustainably is equivalent to living well. We have to counteract so much of the current narrative, which is about living sustainably is going to mean giving up living well, less meat or no meat, not being able to fly and take holidays, not being able to move about in a car. So there's something about a reframing for ourselves culturally. How do we create aspirational narratives? Those kinds of narratives are essential to inspire people to act.
How can Europe transform its economy beyond growth?
The short answer is that Europe can do this by a systematic investment in systemic change. Systematic in the fact that this is about policy coherence. It's about creating an environment at all levels, subnational, regional, city level, and national and pan-European, that creates steady directional guidance towards the need for transformation of the economy, not substitution of energy sources or substitution of materials, so twiddling the dials, but a full-scale structural transformation of the economy. And above all, therefore, it requires a shift in mindsets. One of the most interesting and challenging, but also a huge opportunity in the energy inflation situation at the moment is that it has really brought home for people the limits of resources. Abundance, infinite abundance, the notion of infinite growth is not something that we can continue to do. Europe has no chance of creating strategic autonomy entirely with raw materials. So there is something about the sudden pressure on a sense of what poverty means, of what limits mean, of how difficult this could get. The beginnings of understanding that energy is the first of many. Water is about to follow this year. Food is following fast. We may not be able to think about homes as places in which we heat the volume of air around us because we simply don't have enough materials, raw materials, to retrofit every single European home. And this kind of spikes of short-term crisis suddenly concentrate attention and understanding that something has to shift structurally. It begins to be a litmus test for the way in which we understand that we have a collective problem, we need to find collective solutions, and the dialogue in times of crisis is the best possible way to work through that.
What is Europe's attempt to be the role model, or is this the ambition?
I think the role that Europe can play is one of role modelling, and Europe needs, and I think Europe is well aware, that there is significantly greater power than the footprint, the mathematical footprint of emissions suggests. Europe leads in so many ways on quality of life, on images of living well, on cultural representations of what it means to live in ways that take care of social concerns, that are balanced, that are interrelated, in which art, beauty, nature, aesthetics come together. There is something uniquely European about that kind of call for living differently. The European mission is about decarbonising 112 cities in Europe in 7 years. That is a massive market-shifting signal. We are an organisation that has grown up under the umbrella of the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, the EIT, to incubate and accelerate climate solutions for Europe, all over Europe, east, west, north, south. What we've learned through that process is the critical importance of combining solutions, of thinking in terms of transformation of places, where people live, where they go to work, where they generate food, farming communities, landscapes, land use, cities. And so our role now is really to occupy and to serve our partners, who are principally governments, in what I describe as the messy middle. The big messy middle between the commitments that governments are making to climate, their understanding of commitments to citizens and to industry and to a sense of global responsibility, and the reality of where we are now.